Hey out there, welcome back to the studio. I'm Matt Coolman. I'm the artist that inhabits this studio space that I built here. And we're getting back to this portfolio that we were looking through before, pulling out some of my old work and see what we find in here. I kind of glanced ahead and I'm kind of excited by a few things that I saw coming up. There's several small things. So we're going to see if we can power through this and get through several in one video. I don't want to make it too long. Actually, I didn't see this was in here to start out. But this is kind of an interesting one to pull out because we already looked at this one, but this is a different version of it. And I think before I said I liked the other version better. I think I was wrong. I think I like this one a little bit better. I think if you get a good look at it there, I think I got the figures better, really. They don't look as awkward. I think that was something that bothered me when I did the first version of it. And this environment back there, it's not so like harsh red. It's a little more unified because I got the red over there too. I carried it through. But it's still got that attention to that wood on the wall. They got those like angled slats of wood on the wall. I think this is a little more stylistically unified piece, even though my work now, style is irrelevant. I don't work in style anymore. But at the time, when I was doing this, I would have been in my early 20s, just kind of teaching myself how to paint really. I really didn't even have any instruction at all with watercolor, very minimal, just like in a little bit in high school. And so I bet the other one I probably did before, even though I thought that was the second version. This is probably the second version would be my guess, but it's anyone's guess because I did not date these things or anything or give them titles or anything like I said before. So yeah, that's cool to see another version of it. If you look back at the other video, you can see the other one, and then you can compare it to this one and see how this one's a little bit stronger, I think, overall. And this one's kind of neat here. This is a stranger. I don't know him. I think this was at the bar Henry's in Lawrence. There's a coffee shop, Henry's on 8th Street. They have a bar upstairs, and I think I remember sitting up there, and this guy was kind of like across the room, and so I was kind of embellishing a lot. And like I said, these would have all been done in a sketchbook pretty surreptitiously originally, because you don't want people to notice you're drawing them, because then they want to see what you're doing and they stop posing the way they are. So you try to not be noticed when you're drawing people. And this dude was into his book. And a few things that I like about this are the really heavy working on the media. This was most certainly a monoprint base. You can see a little bleed through on the back where basically take a water-based ink, put it on a sheet of plexiglass, and then you sop it up. So you get your base layer of a color down, but then I worked over it really heavily with these watercolor crowns, and I got some pretty nice layering and effects with it. And there's probably even some gouache and stuff going on in here too. And I think that carries over to what I do now, because a lot of the things I do are pretty process heavy, really into just kind of no holds barred, attack the piece with whatever media is on hand to try to get whatever effect you're going for. If it's not working, you just kind of X over it with gesso or something, and then just keep going. And another aspect that I like of this is the kind of time element, because people are moving all the time, and rather than try to get them in a photo, a snapshot pose, I would just try to incorporate their movements into it. So you can see his arm is actually at 1, 2, 3 different angles there. Not so much there because he would only move it there momentarily, but I got him down there and up there. And rather than try to rectify that with just one. I would just kind of leave the ghosts of them there. And it creates a little kind of gestural movement through the piece that I think is more interesting than if it was just a straight up portrait of some guy I don't know. you really get the sense that you're observing a scene and not just being told of the scene, you know. Speaking of version 1s and 2s, this is definitely an earlier version of the other piece that was in one of my earlier videos. I can pretty confidently say this is the earlier version because it's smaller, and I wouldn't have gone smaller from a bigger one if I thought I needed to work something out on it. So this is the first try. I guess like even just getting something bigger in general, like it really helps it out. And so any sort of like constrained space of this small little piece of paper here, that's going to cause it to not be as successful as I think the other larger version. If you look back in that other video, the extra page space gives you more environment and gives everything more room to breathe. This feels kind of like scrunched in a little too much, and in my own opinion now, I think like the yellow got a little out of hand, and that's probably how I felt at the time, was like, oh, I really like this figure and the way that I set up the chairs and everything, but I think the colors kind of got out of hand, because I think I did mention in the other video that I thought the color palette was really nice on it. And this one I'm not so confident on. But you can see like the progression again. Like that's one thing that I find interesting about having multiple versions of things and hanging on to them, is you get to see how things develop. And if you look back at my other video, you can see what this turned into. And this here is a pretty nice one. Yeah, so this painting here was done at the Replay Lounge in Lawrence, Kansas. Anyone who's spent time in Lawrence has probably been there or heard of it or whatnot. It's a pretty well-known spot. I don't know who this guy was. I just happened to be hanging out there one afternoon and just got a picture of this guy sitting there. I do remember one time somebody commenting on his facial expression that he looked like really like he was having an awful day, and from what I remember, he was perfectly fine. Like that's just kind of how I drew him, I guess, or just how it came out in the rendering. I will say I do really like this PBR can here. That's pretty nice, and I think there's a good flow of stuff here. If you've ever been to these kind of bars, it's a kind of, I guess punk rock is sort of accurate, but there's a lot of stuff around. Like if you're in the Replay, it's like every square inch of surface has something visual going on. Either they've like put a bunch of flyers up, or they've painted things, or there's like, I think there's still like a Millennium Falcon hanging from the ceiling there, and there's just a lot of stuff around. And I think I pretty successfully like kind of distilled it down to kind of indicate that without getting it too busy. And yeah, it's just kind of it's almost got kind of a Nighthawks at the Diner scene. You're sitting at the bar instead of looking in through the window. Yeah, it's an interesting little snapshot, little study. Probably one of my later paintings that I did, because it's starting to look a little like I have a little better media handling, I would say, than some of the other ones I've seen. Hey, I'm just gonna jump in and cut this video shorter here, cut it into 2 segments, start making them a little bit more bite-sized. I guess that's probably the best way to go about this modern stuff, even though I don't prefer it that way. I'm gonna give you guys what you want, so just check me out on my platforms, you know. The other half of the video will be coming out real soon because I'm making it at the same time. And catch you next time.